do have the Towers of Doom map pick here with Braxis and Sky Temple removed. Always a favorite of KSV Black, so a smart ban here from BlossoM.
I also do agree. I think it was a very smart decision. Just having that off can actually throw them off even after Black gets the 2-0 to start off before the break. They will usually just go to Sky Temple, have that snowball, and then finish the series. BlossoM already thinking ahead. I'm liking this play, and Towers of Doom. That's the map they won against KSV Black Part 1. So they want to bring back all those memories. And there's that Medivh ban against BlossoM already. Let's go.
All right, Medivh removed, and Medivh has risen in Part 2 to the top 3 spot after the rework with Medivh and Sonya. As you can see, having 35.6% first ban involvement, so that means that 1 out of 3 games approximately Medivh has been first banned here in Part 2. That's pretty insane. Malfuri gonna maintain his top spot. He wasn't changed or reworked in this current patch. The same to be true of Maiev. That was the previous patch where she was slightly nerfed, but still strong enough to be first ban material. Let's see if BlossoM is going to run the Genji here, or if they want to try to grab onto this Tracer pick despite the fact that it's been nerfed. It's a big, strong pick for them. They've used so many times in the past, but I have a feeling we're going to move into potential Genji Hanzo pick here instead.
Very likely. Tracer nerf has been big, and even in lots of Hero League, we're not really seeing Tracers anymore. And from the Grandmaster especially, so
I mean, the nerf,
they're thinking...
Yeah, the nerf itself was written like, this is basically a nerf for noobs. This is a nerf because people are frustrated playing against Tracer. Let's make it tougher to use, or let's make it more difficult to get that damage done, and also tougher to escape, you know, basically. So in the hands of a pro, it makes a larger, I think, a less difference, but yeah, it's going to be the move away from the Tracer.
From Malfurion, it was very likely that Black was going to take Hanzo over, so they will take that away. Also, picking solo lane already. That's an interesting one. They lost that Medivh, so Sonya was less likely from BlossoM, which is still very powerful pick. But having that global against Black in Towers of Doom, I think BlossoM really has done their homework. They're really focusing on the global, has that Hanzo for themselves. They are making this poking line, and also possible gank with the Dehaka as a global, so Black has to make a difference here as they bend Medivh themselves, and Malfurion will be a weak backline, so they have to keep that backline with something else now.
Yeah. I think that the Dehaka pick is super common on this map. Like, it feels like it's his strongest map. Like, he can, while pushing the top bell tower, threaten the bottom altar spawns the most. That's the one where it's most terrifying, because the fight often goes away from the brush. So Doc has this surprise brush entrance. It's very difficult to predict. Okay, I told you, G-Clef, you and we talked about this, and I said, you know what? I think KSV Black is still going to run Tracer. I think Rich is going to be very happy with the numbers.
He'll do more damage, yes, and higher health also, I think.
Yeah, very slightly.
Maybe by 100, but
and
we'll be happy.
Yeah, and a slightly increased health regen. That's actually quite safe. It's almost like 0.6 more health per second. So that adds up, obviously.
We'll see. It's a lot less forgiving because of the cooldowns. Much of an increase onto cooldown onto Blink and Recall. 6 to 8 and I believe 26 to 30 for Recall. So becomes a big problem, but Rich has been handling those pretty well. Even against the Stukov, there was a problem, but they handled it with their own protection. Medivh, not Medivh, Tyrael in that case.
They have also used the Tracer against the Maiev pick on this very map, if I'm not mistaken. It's been very strong for them. But Hanzo has a really strong win rate against Tracer at the moment, so an interesting choice against this comp of all comps, because Hanzo has longer attack range than other heroes. He will be able to hit Tracer more consistently, and because she has less escapes now, that becomes a little bit more dangerous. The recall being the major one for getting out of any sort of scenario that would occur with a tongue grab. Genji ban here, not a big surprise, because it's going to be the next go-to here for BlossoM. With Uther very likely to be the support choice for BlossoM, you just remove the Genji and take that kind of pick away.
Yeah. If you have not been playing Tracer in a while, we have the POV of Rich also, very likely to play Tracer. So you can just go into his personal streaming also and watch and get a feeling if this nerf made any differences, I think it did. But in terms of how he plays Tracer, maybe it doesn't. He can just stack that blink and just use that recall and just not be in the danger zone until the cooldown comes back. I think that's the way that she should go. He's not a passive player, as everyone knows. But in terms of this one with the nerf, I think he should be a little bit more passive compared to before.
Well, the Uther ban it links into what you're saying, because Uther has that point-click stuns, very difficult to deal with as a Tracer. And what was really interesting that was shown by VSL actually was that camera shot of Rich. He was the one dictating the entire pace of whether it was going to be the Genji ban.
Yeah, something else to take in mind, Noblesse is not here today, so they are actually doing their own drafting. So we may actually have a slight difference in the style, but same players actually playing the hero. So maybe not, but there's no Noblesse for KSV Black.
Rich was calling out, you know, his thoughts on the Uther ban over the Genji ban, making it more personal to him, obviously. Tastar will come out here, and we are going to have the double support Hanzo we've seen so much of in recent weeks. The exclusive hero with double support right now in Korea, with some Tracers sneaking in. Don't know if that's really going to be the case anymore, but this is a lot of burst damage with the Karzim coming through to get on top of Tracer, because he just has point-click dashes, not skill shots.
I think Karzim was possibly the best support, other than Sukhov. 7-sided against the Garrosh with the armor. Oftentimes will be the solo target with the isolation. And Tracer will be harassed by the Karazim dash all the time. So countering 2 at the same time, pretty good tool as a support. Yeah. They have a Tassadar also.
Slows from Tassadar can be very annoying for the Tracer. So a pretty smart response actually, given the Uther ban.
See, Nasang's really rising up. He's basically playing every support that fits the team's playstyle to counter against the other team.
Yeah. Too bad he's not even playing the Ana here. Sleep Dart versus Tracer, man. We're watching Overwatch.
Too bad there's no counter against Phoenix. But here's Sonya and Falstad. Those warps,
look,
man.
We'll talk about it next week, all right? Jacob casually says, "Too bad Phoenix is so busted. Like the entire game's broken." I'm like, yeah. Well, I mean, I completely agree, but like, you know, he is disabled this week.
He is. Okay, next week.
What about an ETC pick here? Very strong against the, well, it can catch Garrosh in an out of position 7 strike. Could be great for that. You can also catch the Tracer when she's trying to be aggressive onto your back line. Very easy slide stun. And we're talking about Gondar's best hero historically. I think that it's a reasonable pick. Other ones would be the Arthas, which is going to be strong against Tracer if you can root her, and very strong against Sonya. They already have their solo laner in Dahaka, so Arthas less likely. Tyrael is possible. Oh, Diablo! Of course, I should have known that this was going to be the case.
Which is quite uncommon. I wouldn't say it never happened, but oftentimes, and most of the time, it was paired up with Medivh when they got their chance. Not just BlossoM. Every other team who used Diablo was always paired up with Medivh. But not this case, as Medivh is banned, but still, without the protection, maybe thinking the shield is enough to just keep Diablo alive. I don't think it's the same case against all the range damage that KSV Black has in this case, but he's still willing to do it.
Yeah, the Falstad pick makes this a lot tougher to execute, because there's a lot that Falstad is a big safety net against the Diablo with the Gust. But if Gust isn't available, or if Falstad is in another lane, or in the early game, even when Diablo isn't tanky from his souls, if you grab someone, knock him into the wall, Karzim comes in, Tassadar drops a Psy Storm, starts auto-attacking, you've got Hanzo to finish them off, you've got Tassadar to keep Diablo alive while he's putting himself out there. I'm glad to see this has become an HGC Korea tradition. All right, Rich. Let's find out what you could do with a new buffed Tracer. Already a very strong pick here in HGC Korea. I'd love to know who's the highest win rate Tracer in Korea. I can tell you Rich's.
I think Sign has a pretty high win rate after having 30% win rate. I think it went up super high after winning many.
Rich is 2-0 this season.
We're looking for all-time, right?
Yeah, well, 2-0 this split, sorry, and then 2-0 in the previous split, so 4-0 this season. That's the data I have in front of me right now. I'd have to look deeper to find the full results for him. Obviously, he didn't play Tracer much in the past, It was Sign who played, and Kyocha who played. So
let's see BlossoM as Tutu, Uzan Hanzo has been stepping up super high even against SCSC, so which was incredible to see. Just their DPS line was often what we could say the problem. The tank and the support line has been rising up when the DPS was not really following up as well, but Tutu really stepped up along with the team. We could really tell that his play was affecting the team fight so much more compared to before. He was very passive, just playing with Vala, oftentimes known as the Vala player, sometimes Genji, but he often just costed his own life going in, but not in this case anymore.
yeah, it's interesting that with such a high priority pick for both of these teams, so the Tracer, right, Dudu and Rich, one of their best heroes, they end up grabbing this in the first game too. We're seeing it already despite the mobility nerfs to Tracer. It's just so interesting to me. This is like exactly what everyone would have wanted from today's matches, right? And it just ends up coming true. It's like it's scripted or something, but we're gonna have to wait and see how these team fights play out. BlossoM's a very safe team, like you said, especially with the new and improved play we're seeing from Dudu on this Hanzo. So top with the lane swap with the Falstad allows BlossoM to come and invade here, but it's a faster rotation back from KSV Black. This is a risky one now. Jumping in onto Rich. There's the stun. He gets the recall. But he gets the pulse onto Nasong as well. He survives.
Maybe he didn't have a dash out. I think he had the range to dash out to his teammates. But that was a risky one. Before level 4 Hanzo?
Oh, simple geometry. Oh. Okay, he's gonna pay for it with his life though, so don't know if it ends up being worth it. Would have been cool if Rich took Untouchable. I would have been wondering how much damage could we potentially see. Not to be the case though, sadly.
Maybe another 9-minute 51k damage game, but not in this case. Already has started BlossoM. They had the rotation, but oftentimes at the very early game, you see this kind of game in many Hero League games also. You think you can be aggressive because you are controlling that slight macro advantage in the beginning of the game, and then it ends up costing a lot more because you're invading onto the other side. Your teammate takes a lot more longer time to actually escape if you're losing.
They also have a global with the Falstad, whereas Daka was pressured so couldn't come down. So we're going to see Tannels here coming through for KSV Black, just going to interrupt now. This is a fight that BlossoM needs to win, and they're going to have to use the Daka to win, so it's going to cost them core health if they actually send him down. In fact, he's losing already at the top right now. Falstad is doing the work. Wiz does not get the tongue grab. So, was it a close call? This puts the pressure away from BlossoM. They're going to lose 2 bell towers. Scatter arrow did not connect. But yeah, you know, they did the lane swap top. The Falstad can just come right down to the fight. Daka cannot because his lane's pressured. So the better control there of the top lane than the collapse onto the very predictable invade from BlossoM. It was a good idea in theory, but KSV Black punishes.
Also, it is reset on Falstad.
Yeah.
Usually with Sake, but after the role change, quite amazed that this team can actually have anyone in any of the heroes and played decently. Not the perfect one over the time. You may see them better a lot more, but
the only player who's never there, actually I shouldn't say only player. There's 2 players who have not played every role, and they're Rich and Reset. Reset's never played support. Rich has never played support. Beyond that, every player has played every role, including solo laner. So, you know, they've all got a lot of experience at this point.
Including specialist.
Yeah.
Yes. That's something else. Especially Kyocha has been playing. I think he played more than 50 heroes, like professional game.
Yeah. He's
so that's
got a lot.
Yeah, that's something amazing. Even Avatar, some Nazebos and all that.
Yeah, this season alone, he has played 24. So, a lot.
Yeah, a lot. And this is the time to actually go in. Black had everything controlled. Dehaka had the lane pushed. Even the bottom one, Hanzo had to take care of that. So Black's making the right choice as in terms of rotation, how they're controlling with the global. I don't think BlossoM was expecting a Falstad to come out from Black today, especially after Sake switching role to a support. That was something that I also did not expect a little bit.
Yeah, it's a bit of a surprise. But let's see how this next phase goes for BlossoM, because they are going to put down this spirit here. Not going to help Gondar to really do anything. He's just trying to use his charge to kite away. Here's the fly-in from Falstad. And BlossoM has just lost total control. The burst there from the Hammerang. Oh, that was sick there by Garzine to keep him alive, but the burst is just too much. They're going to try to turn this again with Diablo, but he's just totally zoned right now. And body block barely does get taken out there, but KSV Black is just controlling this fight. Again, huge groundbreaker there to hit everyone.
As you can see, it is not the same. So Diablo is not the same without the Medivh. No protection, no portal to actually escape from those zoning.
Yeah, he just doesn't have the same mobility that Medivh allows. Falstad's already back in lane, soaking KSV Black to 10 while he's there, relieving Sonya because Sonya is taking the Sapper camp. So they replace their soul laner because they have 2 potential soul laners with the Falstad, and have their soul laner go to clear camps instead, utilizing this advantage while maintaining that experience lead. And unfortunately for BlossoM, there's just not much counterplay at the moment with Tana right around the corner. This wave will do it. So BlossoM will have to just play passively. They can poke like this, they can push these waves in, but cannot actually contest objectives. Luckily for them, there's no way that KSV Black with this comp can to try to take the boss. But otherwise, you know, that could be a possibility.
Yep. BlossoM still needs tons of time to catch up to that 10. They have the global. Meanwhile, Dehaka has been, I wouldn't say he's been doing nothing, but just staying up in solo lane while Falstad was actually making plays instead. Because they're kind of late in the rotation. It is always Black making the initial move. Well, first one, BlossoM had the initial.
Oh, look at this Gust initiation though, Chiklev. Everyone's stuck. Pulse comes in immediately. Hanzo's the first to die with double support. That should never happen.
Dehaka comes now, but way too late. Has to be just soaking with that Drake. Already 2 members lost from BlossoM. That this was what I was trying to say, BlossoM. They're late to the rotation. Falstad making that initiation right when BlossoM's about to hit 10.
You can't position like that when you don't know where Falstad is going to come in from, because you're going to get 4-man or 5-man gusted. And they just instantly, during the stun, because I know it's, most people don't really think about it this way, but basically Falstad has displacement, but it's also a stun. During the stun, while they're traveling, Rich was able to come in there, thread the needle on that pulse bomb, hit Hanzo, and with Tracer's buffed damage, kill him even faster than Tracer would have been able to kill before. Grab that pick on the Hanzo, the fight's over there. The fight was already over because of the positioning, because of the gust, but no DPS, there's no coming back, and oh, look at this. Even getting a kill over the bell tower.
Punished for going into Kyocha. Even Gondar is not going to be safe in this case, and they were actually thinking of their own rotation. There's a recall from Tracer, and oh gosh, to actually catch Wiz again. Look at this game just snowballing.
KSV Black said, you thought this was going to be a good series, you thought we were going to get a challenger into the big 3 tonight. This was supposed to be hype, this was supposed to be exciting. Is that what you're telling me? That's what Noblesse is saying from home right now as he watches this?
Yes.
Are you telling me this was supposed to be interesting? You think this was going to be competitive? I don't think so.
Well, after watching that sign from Kerosene, the palm, it was supposed to be 7-sided against Garrosh. And making that change already tells us that the game is not going to according to their plan at all.
Well, the palm isn't 7-sided, and the game is looking pretty one-sided right now because KSV Black is just controlling the macro. They have a strong soul laner with split push potential. They have a global soul laner on top of that, can keep them ahead in soak, and has initiated 2 fights for them now. Gust is available again, and they're just going to protect this bell tower. Look, Falstad's going mid. He can fly in for another Gust initiate at any time from that range from mid. It's about a width, 1 lane, you know, distance that Flight can give you. Grabbing 5 shots. Now he's going to come over and try to escort these Sappers in. If BlossoM gets too far forward, he can just gust them into their deaths, into that bell tower.
This is the best position for Black. Where can Dehaka actually come from? So far away from the fighting zone here as they gust. One more Sap goes in.
This is nearly the 40-0 dream. It almost was. Okay.
Almost was, except for the first one gone. There's caught. There's the taunt.
He does get the palm here. That's going to be a lot of healing onto a Diablo, but okay, here comes the combo with the APOC, but they're fighting under bell tower. Even with the isolation, Tista is just going to walk away. He's got all that armor. And it looks like we are staring down the barrel of a very fast Towers of Doom game here. KSV Black could take the boss, but they don't want to because they just want to control this. Oh my god!
With the pulse
what?
bomb and the damage from Reset.
Let it be known, who said Tracer got nerfed? Who said it?
I didn't.
G-Clef.
Well, when I played Tracer, I could feel it, but in this case, and Rich being on Tracer.
I just want to take this moment to say, I told you so. Well, this is not a happy moment for BlossoM. I can't even. No one could have even seen that coming. Like, I'm kind of still in awe of that moment that we just witnessed. We've seen some crazy things, okay? We've seen Jungha's Zeratul on this map in the kill zone. We've seen Raven's shenanigans, shall we say, on the kill zone here. I thought we've pretty much seen it all, but boy, was I wrong. BlossoM going to come up here for an invade.
Well, they have to.
They have to.
Yes, because if they lose 2, it's GG. And even if they don't win the team fight, if they lose the boss, it's GG also. Going for the last, possibly the last team fight for BlossoM. If they lose, it's going to be GG with the altar. Even if they take control of the altar, boss would just end the game. Here goes Insonia. The focus is on to Tracer. Recalled.
Recalled and isolated, but Rich's positioning is still good enough to stay alive. Doing some peel here, is going to get hit by the APOC combo, but does get out. Look at all the damage he's putting off here onto these targets. Sneaking in onto Nasong. The Gust connects here. Nasong palms himself, but Duda will not be so lucky to survive. Ice Block comes through, and nobody dies on the side of KSV Black. You have the escape there from Wiz, which was actually pretty sexy, if I do say so myself. That was a pretty cool brush dog out, but what a game. Who said Tracer's nerfs? 17 kills